The overcast skies fell down on the Eiffel Hills when Fernando Alonso needed nothing less than a dominant victory. The 5 red lights were about to start the 2007 European Grand Prix, and the world was about to see who's the fastest in equal conditions. But, well, it wasn't that easy with Fernando. Saying that Fernando Alonso is only a spectacular driver would be half of the story. He's a man who is ready to do whatever is necessary to overcome whatever challenge he's facing. And there's a good reason why I wanted to start this video on Nürburgring. So, back to that weekend. It's 2007 European Grand Prix. We're in middle of the season when McLaren clearly showed up with 2 fastest cars on the grid. Ferraris could only hope to punish any given opportunity, any loophole in the strategy, any minor error or bad luck that would come along the way. And fortunately for them, McLaren made one hell of a mistake.
It's Lewis Hamilton, who's only 7 years old.
How long have you been racing cars for already, Lewis?
About a year.
So you must be pretty good at it. Is it easy to do?
No.
Look, Lewis was genuinely loved by British media. Magazines wrote about him as the new Ayrton Senna, and his 2006 GP2 season impressed McLaren so much they offered him a seat right alongside Fernando Alonso. But no one expected what was really about to come. By the way, I can't do these videos without your support, so if you like what I'm doing here, please like and subscribe, because it costs nothing. Thank you so much and enjoy Project VLD. But with Lewis getting more and more attention through the season, also grown Fernando's paranoia of being suppressed by his own team. So by the time the circus arrived in the Eiffel Mountains, the internal battle between McLaren teammates had reached new heights. Fernando felt he needs to do something before this situation will get out of hand. So, when all mechanics were about to prepare garage for the weekend, Fernando approached all of his workers with little brown envelopes. Every person working on Fernando's side of the garage got one of these little envelopes, in which was packed around 1500 euros. Now, mechanics were very surprised of such an act, and when the team boss Ron Dennis found out about this little moral support, he got furious. The relationship between McLaren and Fernando have obviously intensified after such an act. However, Fernando could still theoretically win the championship and prove that he should stay the undeniable number 1.
5 lights going out, we're racing Raikkonen on the right, Alonso on the left. The European Grand Prix is go. Great getaway for Raikkonen. Alonso comes across to cover Massa. They're side by side. Kubica's already past Heidfeld. He's having a go around the outside of Raikkonen. Massa. So Alonso, Massa comes back at him again. He's in second place. Alonso third.
As the rain became so intense by the end of the first lap, the circuit became functionally undrivable. All drivers had to face a challenge trying to stay on the tarmac and hope they could reach the pits before the water flushed them away. And if that wasn't crazy enough, the rain intensified again.
I think that's Button. Oh no, Jenson Button was running in 4th place. He has gone off, or does he? Spiker flies off the racetrack. Adrian Sutil. Is that Hamilton? It is Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton on lap 3 has gone off.
And this is going to get nasty. They're going to have to put the safety car out. What they're doing now is just aquaplaning off the racetrack. The intermediates will not clear.
This forced the FIA to deploy a safety car and subsequently red flagging the race on the lap 4. Now, no one knew if the race will be restarted again. The water literally flushed 6 undrivable cars from the track, and everyone only prayed for the tarmac getting dry. The FIA eventually resumed the race behind the safety car, and the tactical battle shifted from a survival to tire management. Alonso could now finally hunt it Felipe Massa's Ferrari for the win. The duel, however, didn't come immediately to a dogfight. Both drivers were extremely cautious on a still wet track, and due to a Nürburgring downhill characteristics, some parts of the track were dry, while others were pouring in water. The lap 50 was the lap when everything has meant to change. McLaren Pintwall informed Alonso about the new storm cell, which was exactly the window that Fernando needed. Both Massa and Alonso pitted for intermediate tires. However, this time due to a great pit stop, the gap was already less than 2 seconds. McLaren pitwall tried to calm down Fernando's aggressive style, but he was simply faster than Felipe. Fernando closed the gap to within half a second by lap 56, and it was now a head-to-head battle between the two sport greats.
Has the much faster car. It's just that Massa is continually placing.
They touch wheels.
Incredible. He's got away with it. He takes the lead. Alonso in the lead.
Felipe Massa screamed at the radio, but there was nothing he could do about it. After 60 laps of mixed conditions, overtakes, crashes and unbelievable turnovers, Fernando Alonso crossed the finish line to take his 18th Formula 1 victory. Maybe you've sometimes thought, how did some Spaniard get so good in the rain? Well, the family's financial situation in 1980s was really bad. It was so bad that the young kid was forced to race on one set of tires through the whole season, including racing on slick tires in the rain. And that's where the things got really interesting. A gentleman called Janis Marco, who became famous for importing go-karts, saw Fernando racing and got very interested by the boy's raw speed. It didn't take him long to start sponsoring Alonso's family, and it's safe to say that without Marco's financial backing and professional connections, Fernando's career likely would have ended in the Spanish regional events. So, this time with professional equipment at disposal, Fernando became unstoppable. Between 1993 and 1995, he won 3 consecutive Spanish Junior National Championships. In 1996, he reached the global stage and won the FIA 5 Continents Cup in Belgium. In 1997 and 1998, he transitioned to the senior Intercontinental A category, winning titles in both Spain and Italy and finishing as the runner-up in the European Championship. In other words, every season which Fernando had attended on international karting level, he didn't finish a single season worse than 3rd. Now, when Fernando won Euro Open Series in 1999, that's the time when on the scene arrives another gentleman called Flavio Briatore. Flavio was already a controversial character due to his questionable titles with Benetton, but it was him who famously called the team's owner Giancarlo Minardi and told him they had found a phenomenon before a big team like McLaren or Ferrari. Speaking of Ferrari, if you remember, the relationship between Massa and Alonso was never exactly the greatest after Nürburgring in 2007, but it was clear that Fernando frequently performed miracles with machineries that shouldn't compete for victories. And above all of that stood this one particular race. The weekend started as a tragedy. Fernando failed to reach the final top 10 shootout by 0.004 of a second, and he was forced to start from 11. It all happened on the home streets of Valencia, where most fans and experts simply believed that a podium finish was totally out of reach. However, everybody knew that the F2012 car was better in a race trim, and all the stands were filled with red and yellow color. Fernando needed to put on some show.
Tries down the inside of Maldonado into turn 2, first in there without any problems. Maldonado gets squeezed.
The first few laps were extremely cautious. Ferrari simply didn't have the extra power to breach on top. However, most drivers struggled with tire degradation and the intense heat, while Fernando seemed to find more grip than others. The turning point of the race came on the lap 28, when the safety car was deployed to clear debris from the track. This closed the massive gap that Sebastian Vettel had built, and the series of tight pit stops literally changed the game. Ferrari quick decision and Fernando great execution moved the Spaniard to the 3rd place. And when the race restarted, Fernando produced the most spectacular move of the afternoon, and the Spanish crowd absolutely loved it.
Has got a super little exit behind Romain Grosjean as they make their way down towards turn 1 and 2. Vettel has managed to keep his lead. Grosjean just in front of Alonso, who pulls out alongside. He's going to try and go around the outside, and they did touch. But Alonso has squeezed his way through into second place.
If that wasn't great enough, Sebastian Vettel was forced to retire just a couple of moments later. So suddenly, and against absolutely all odds, Fernando Alonso was leading the race. However, it wasn't for free. He had to defend a position against fast-charging McLaren of Lewis Hamilton and the Williams of Pastor Maldonado. The situation solved itself as both drivers were fighting hard for seconds, and in the final laps, they both collided. That relieved the pressure on Alonso and allowed him to cruise for the 29 Formula 1 victory.
In Formula 1, in front of his adoring Spanish fans, can now see the checkered flag and comes home to win the Grand Prix of Europe. It's not 8 different winners in 8 races, it's Fernando Alonso for a...
Now, Fernando Alonso was known for his political nature and a total honesty, so when he started to voice his frustrations about the car publicly, there was no way back. For example, after a disappointing race in Hungary, Fernando sarcastically asked for someone else's car as a birthday gift. This absolutely infuriated Ferrari CEO Luca Montedicimolo, but Alonso simply felt the team couldn't build a title-winning car after 4 seasons of struggle, and Ferrari probably knew it too. I don't wanna get here into speculations what could have been if Fernando never left McLaren or Ferrari or whoever. What I'm trying to say here is that all the decisions that Fernando Alonso made and showed through all these years hints that he is much more than a racing driver. In my eyes, Fernando Alonso is above all a symbol. He's a symbol of an old-school uncensored motorsport that had a really hard time being understood. He's a man who is ready to do whatever is necessary to win, and when he gets behind the wheel, there's honestly no one like Fernando Alonso. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comments and tell me who would you like to see next. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye.